You're welcome. Let's do this thing. Whee! That sounded a little low to me, but it is what it is. All right, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit, folks. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. The best place to follow us, and we're everywhere, but the best place right there is peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. But of course, coming hot on the gram, don't forget, at peoples_pundit on both X and on gram. And it's just at People's Pundit on Truth and Getter. The link to Burn It Down, which is doing very well, is below. Pre-order Burn It Down. Pre-order it now. Pre-order it now. In fact, we're going to have an overlapping conversation here today based on something somebody said when they were in the middle of a complete and total meltdown over Donald Trump striking a deal, which has been clear now for weeks he wanted to do. In the administration, really, nobody was dying to go to war in this administration. They just weren't. And it was a little inexplicable, although we have done our best to explain it to you as to why this war did, in fact, pop off. If you're a Locals member, a local supporter, we're actually reading, because a big conversation right now is about the Israel lobby. We're actually reading Mearsheimer and Walt's The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, which is the subtitle, which is he's widely viewed to be vindicated from this. I take some issues with some stuff in the book, but that's what reading it is for. We just started on the introduction yesterday, so if you need another reason to become a supporter on Locals, it would be to join the book club on Sundays. Although my wife is kind of right. She wants me to move book club, and I don't know if I can do it. We'll have a conversation about it probably pretty soon, but it is probably hindering our growth on a Sunday and also hindering family time. So I don't know. We'll see. But this is an important book to get through. And in any event, I think what we're going to find out here when we go through the reactions, so Trump strikes this deal he wanted to do. This was totally against Donald Trump's campaign promises. Nobody with an intellect or an honest intellect is arguing that the Iran war was expected by the American public based on who Donald Trump campaigned to be, who he told the American public he was, who the leader that he was in his first term, that the American public observed. Nobody with honesty and intellect, one or either, or certainly not both, can seriously argue that this decision makes sense based on those things. The decision to get in this war made sense. It did not. Period. And anyone who's still arguing that is either just like a simp, a paid shill, or whatever. Or just, again, just dishonest, a dishonest clapping seal. All right, some offhanded comments 40 years ago to Oprah, which didn't say I would be willing to start a war with Iran over it. In fact, more than the couple of campaign trail offhand cuss, added tongue in cheek, they can't get a nuclear weapon. As Joe Kent, his former counterterrorism director, correctly stated, it was never that, because we'll go to a full-on war with you and, engage in regime change Trump campaigned against for a decade. It was predicated on his image and his brand that he built as being a master negotiator. And that is what the public expected. All right. The problem with this argument we're going to find, I mean, if we're already talking about something like that, then very clearly one side of this argument was engaging in bad faith. They were not really debating. They were never debating in good faith. And here's the irony of all of this, because I'm going to first start with the critics like me. There's some people out there I'm kind of disappointed in. And I'll blanket address them in a second. But of course, we're going to spend the lion's share on the obstructors to MAGA and the obstructors to America First, the biggest, most serious, worst of them all. And that has been the neocon faction on the right since he came down the escalator. You could go and watch the clip of Brett Baer in Special Report and how his stupid little panel of neocons reacted to Donald Trump after he gave his opening speech saying he was running for president. Since that very moment, because they may not have a constituency, they can't win an election to save their life because nobody agrees with them outside of a very tiny faction, which is shrinking and dying, in fact. As we have shown you over and over again, it is a dead coalition. It's nothing. But they have representation in Congress backed by this. They have a bunch of senators, particularly in the United States Senate, who have been the main obstructors to real MAGA, to real America First. You expect Democrats to do it. You expect Democrats to try to sabotage you. You expect Democrats to stab you in the back if you give them the chance. You don't expect a faction who first does everything in their power to oppose you. And then when you beat them, they ask to be a leech, to be a parasitic member of your coalition. And you gracefully allow them to, even though after 2 prior election cycles, they vocally had big names on both sides vocally saying they would never support you. And in fact, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. And then when even Trump was running again in 2024, under the pressure of spending the rest of his life in jail had he lost that election, these sons of bitches are still telling you to vote for Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley. This faction of the debate has not been engaging in good faith. And I'm going to lightly cover it and sprinkle it here. We'll move on to the critics, and then we'll look at some video and some photos. Because we have a poll coming on how the American public views this deal. And I think if you follow me or if you have a brain at all yourself, you know this war has been deeply unpopular. I never pulled a war this unpopular before a president decided to launch it. 21% support, 70% oppose. There was a rally around the flag effect for a little bit. But Americans did not believe that Iran was at risk of getting nuclear weapons, and Americans sure as hell did not believe that the risk of them, even if they got it, using it on places in the United States was a serious threat. That is neocon generational slop. The Pakistanis harbored Osama bin Laden for years, a few miles away from their central intel hub. They have nuclear weapons. The psycho Kim Jong-un has nuclear weapons. Adolf Hitler 2.0. Actually, is it Adolf Hitler 2.0? Everyone's Hitler to these people. Everybody's Hitler, and every situation is a Munich moment. Has Vladimir Putin used nuclear weapons, even though we've been the aggressors on his doorstep for years? This is fiction. It's bull. And Americans didn't buy it. And when gas prices, aside from the initial anger of them being mad at the or disappointed that Donald Trump, in their view, betrayed them by starting this war, and that they had made themselves very clear, tell Bibi to go home. He got the damn strikes on the 3 nuclear sites in last summer. Tell him to go home, fight his own damn battles. We have massive problems building up in the United States. And guess what, Donald? That's what you were elected to address. Once they got past that initial disappointment in the face of the betrayal, they made themselves crystal clear in poll after poll after poll after poll. We want you to pivot back to domestic policy and tell Bibi to go home. And he didn't. And then gas prices started to skyrocket, even though the number one issue in this country was cost of living. And as this debate was going on, that side engaged again in bad faith on a number of grounds. One, which was the video I had pinned to my profile. Where do your loyalties lie? Do you remember that? Because as you obviously probably could guess, I knew the bombs were coming, that we had lost that fight, and I wanted it up for posterity. If you were willing to sacrifice the coalition and lose badly in the midterms, you're a foreign agent. You're a full of shit foreign agent who never believed that Democrats crossed the Rubicon in 24 trying to throw our guy in prison, that they were dangerous, and that we were always just one Supreme Court vote away from authoritarianism, full blown. You never believed that they were the threat to our children and their genitalia and our culture and the strength of our institutions and our morality. You never believed any of that. Our identity, our very identity, as they sought to allow neighboring invaders to replace us. We dodged 2 bullets in 3 elections and acted as if we had the giant coalition we could squander away willy-nilly and not have to care about. Nobody really believes that. Everybody understands these elections are close, and we are that much on the precipice. The only way, and that is the argument I made in this video, the only way that you would be willing to put all of that at risk, the future of our own country, based on the interest of a foreign nation that diverged clearly with our interests, is if you were a foreign agent. I don't care what your identity is by ethnicity, nationality, ethno-religion. I don't give a damn. I'm Italian. You wouldn't see me put Maloney before the welfare of my own children, of my wife, of my future grandchildren. This is our nation. Never. And if you did, then you don't even have dual loyalties. So if you think that's a trope, hear this. I'm not even accusing you of dual loyalties. I'm saying you don't have any loyalty to this country. You have it to another one. And you hurt this country bad by pretending that wasn't the case. And now, only with it becoming very clear that this deal was coming, that their influence was waning, because Donald Trump understands it's his head on the pike, not theirs. Only when that became crystal clear did a bunch of them start admitting they were willing to blow the midterms for Israel. How do you engage in an honest debate with people who come to the debate in bad faith? You can't. You have to just call them what they are, let them lie for a little while till shit falls apart, and then they're forced to admit it here and forced to be hypocrites in front of everyone. Wait till you see this one clip. Wait. There's no defending it. The hypocrisy in this is so rank, it's so disgusting, there's no way to defend it. It is what it is, and they're taking you, if you follow these people and you listen to these people and you read these people's slop, you're an idiot. That's what they take you for. And if you're still watching them and you're still reading them and you're still following them, then guess what? You proved them right. You proved how little they think about you correct. And the second bad faith part of this is the idea this was ever about Iran's nuclear weapon program. It wasn't. As we know now, our own DNI assessed, Iran was not on the precipice of getting a nuclear weapon. This is the truth. If you watched Road Rage earlier, then you know. That did not come from U.S. intelligence, because our U.S. intelligence agencies were against this action and their conclusions the entire time. This came from one wing of Israeli government, not even the IDF agreeing with Mossad and vice versa. This came from one wing, and they ran with it as if it was gospel. Probably the same wing that promised us that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, or that they accidentally napalmed the deck of the USS Liberty for 30 minutes. This was never about their nuclear program. They wanted Iran gone, period. Taken out of the equation, erased from the map. Because this is about the greater Israel project. And you can't call somebody an anti-Semite just because they discover an uncomfortable truth that you don't want them to know. You know who does that? Leftists. Leftists call you ists and isms. And they, like I told Tucker, take these labels, expand the definitions of them so they can apply the label to more people. Congratulations, you're a leftist. Which I told you neocons have been. They have always been leftists. Billy Crystal's daddy was a Trotskyite. Charles Krauthammer hated Ronald Reagan. It's just ridiculous. George Will hated Ronald Reagan. Paul Wolfowitz wasn't allowed near anybody's foreign policy think tanks in any serious right-wing circles until George W. Bush decided to pull his betrayal on the American public. They're a laughing stock in academia. A laughing stock. They're a joke. You can take courses in college about what a joke neoconservatism is as a legitimate school of thought in international relations theory. It's a joke. And yet we take this seriously because unfortunately it would appear that foreign policy, security studies, international relations theory, statecraft is the one area where DC apparently doesn't want to listen to the experts. It's unbelievable. And it is the one field of study where it could actually help us. Matter of fact, two of them who are highly, highly respected, brilliant men, anti-Semites, for trying to explain as realists what on earth could cause these decisions. Just because it doesn't make sense. When you actually write out realist theory and it's okay, maybe let's go with neoliberalism. Does it make sense with that? No, not really. Maybe let's look at Bruce Russell's joke of a democratic peace theory. How does that fit in there? Nah, it doesn't explain it either. Even if we were to accept that any of these were legitimate theories or legitimate arguments, which they're not, realism is. Even constructivism, does that help? No. It doesn't. Nothing explains this. So as uncomfortable as it was for realists to dive into domestic explanations, which if you know anything about international relations theory, they don't tend to do that. They tend to argue this is the international state of anarchy, and this is how nations act, and they're rational actors within the international state of anarchy. And pretty much all their decisions can be explained by wanting to survive in the international state of anarchy where there is no global 911. If a nation gets in trouble, there's no police officer to call. Hey, guess what? We're being invaded. We need you to send over some units. So it's very uncomfortable. It does, yes. And Laura just actually, what's the word I'm looking for? What she just said actually echoes what I'm talking about here. Sounds like a you problem because that's how nations respond in the international system. They don't care unless they have some interest in caring. They choose to avoid war unless they absolutely need to engage in war. It is actually one of the most costly and foolish strategies to pursue power. So these guys, these realists, dive into domestic answers. Well, there is this very powerful lobby, and it's a loose, leaderless, but loose association of people who really put the interest of Israel before they do the United States. Even though some of them will say they intersect, they intertwine, they don't. That's what is the value of this book, actually, is more than anything else. It will bust up the myth that U.S. and Israeli interests are intertwined. They are not. And when we go through some of these things that we're going to look at the reactions on how people are reacting to this, I will get more into that. But if you still believe that, I don't know what to tell you. That's a lie that Begin and Likud sold you starting in the late 1970s. And then they paid a bunch of pastors a shit ton of money, even gave one well-known one a plane to help them sell that BS. It's not true. In fact, many of the cases that they go over, you can clearly see those actions were not in our interest. And yet we still did it anyway, even though it weakened American superpower status. Let's save some of that, but let's, before we go on to like individually address some of these, I just want to say of like my fellow critics of the Iran war. The administration is, whether you agree with what they do or not, the administration is extremely responsive. And what I mean by that is they may not listen to me all the time, but if I have an issue and I'm like, oh, I got to tell somebody something, the president needs to know that. They have... Guys, who the hell, what other administration do you know where a guy like me or other guys like me, because I'm not alone, can pick up the phone and call somebody at the White House and be like, look, this is an issue. And they care and they listen. Often. Not always, but often. There's none other like it. So one of the beauties of the first Trump administration, I remember, bump stocks were like, that was like the last of it. He was going to do a lot more, but he listened and pushback happened. He listened and he course corrected. It hasn't been the case that, I would say he did it more in the first Trump administration than he does here, without a doubt, I think, but he still listens and he still values opinions, even if he goes to True Social and then attacks you the next day. It's all transactional with Trump. You understand that. And in fact, the clips I picked today, I picked for a reason. And I think if the president himself watches the people that I picked in these clips, he's going to go, uh-oh, I know what they all have in common with Rich. Yep. He'll know. I'm not going to say it because I know we're all I know it's like today's fad to share personal messages and back and forth and conversations that you have with people because it makes you look cool or something. I know that's like today's fad. And everyone's doing it. It's all the rage. I'm not doing that. I'm not breaching confidence like that. And it's privacy. I do think that people have certain expectations to privacy, and I'm not doing it. But he'd know. He'd know exactly what I'm talking about. So I didn't pick these people by accident. If you were a critic of the war, and now you hear about this deal, and I'm honestly, several of them are saying nothing, which is weird. And I'm going to defend my boy Robert real quick. He's traveling today, which is why there isn't a what are the odds. Otherwise, he would be saying stuff right now himself. But there are a lot of other ones out there, and they're either saying nothing or they're just being unreasonable. Like, I don't know what else you wanted from the guy. Or it's a pile-on. And a pile-on, I mean, they're pointing out the obvious things that even some neocons are pointing out. When at least, though, they understand that there's going to be a consequence for starting this stupid war. Again, because of bad faith arguments. It was never about the nuclear program. So once you understand that and you realize what neocons really wanted, what they wanted is not obtainable. Okay? And when you hear things like, what was it? Total victory, unconditional surrender. It's like, tell me you're a boomer without telling me you're a boomer. Or even worse, tell me you're boomer 1 or silent gen without actually even telling me that. You know what unconditional surrender looks like, ladies and gentlemen? Nagasaki. Are you willing to do that for a fake threat that the Iranians may get a nuclear weapon and drop one on Chicago like Mark Levin actually claimed on his Fox News Sunday show leading up to this war? Fox News and Murdoch Inc., you should be ashamed of yourself for letting some of your people run with the lies that they did, particularly somebody like Mark Levin. They don't even have the capacity to hit Chicago, or at least it was thought they didn't. It was also thought they didn't have all those supersonic rockets that, Pete Hegseth kept telling us were 95% destroyed. Just so foolish. Point is, if you criticize the war and now you're pulling stupid, corny little shit like this, what incentive are you giving Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance to even listen to you and your criticisms? Why would they listen at all now? By doing what you're doing, it's human nature. Why wouldn't they just sit back and go, oh, well, screw this. I listened to them. I gave them what they wanted, and I'm still getting shit. It was never going to be a good deal. Once the war started, everyone in the Defense Department, except for Pete Hegseth, who obviously knew and then just paraded out and lied anyway, knew the five-finger strategy would be applied, knew they would close the strait and choke off the oil supply, knew our barrels would go to 100 plus, knew the American consumer would flip out, knew Donald Trump would squander all of his political capital on it, knew it would become completely politically unsustainable to continue a war that nobody wants for the interest of a nation that nobody likes. So once you understand that, you understand that it was not ever going to be a great deal. So the truth of the matter is, I praise Donald Trump for doing this, for accepting this. I praise the vice president's work, by the way, on his anniversary, the president's birthday, breaking his ass because they knew it. They felt they were that close. Even while they had what they had going on at the White House later that night. I know the vice president. I personally know the guy. Some days he didn't sleep for 3-4 days. Right? 3-4 days routinely to get this deal. So the truth is, I don't really give a shit what's in the deal. I just want the war over. Guess what? Iran was always going to end up stronger because you got suckered. It's called being baited and bled. You got textbook baited and bled. And the Israelis, Netanyahu, good luck, bro. Good luck in the fall, Netanyahu. Good luck, brother. Repeatedly warned, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. And yet he trounced, traipsed down to Mar-a-Lago, to the White House, and sold Donald Trump a load of bullshit. And by the way, apparently a lot of it's caught on audio tape, and now we're all going to know that everybody knew it was bullshit. Unbelievable. So I'm going to blanket hit the critics with this criticism. If you want Donald Trump to continue to listen to you, then you have to understand he's transactional. He gave you what you wanted, even though he's not an idiot. He knew what the neocons were going to say. This is weaker than Obama's deal. We're in a worse position than ever. And in fact, give me a second. I'm going to let you hear it from them, right from the horse's mouth. He knew that was coming. But he did it anyway because he finally listened. And it wasn't easy. The pressure was enormous. So look, nobody's been one of the bigger critics than me. But there's a time to criticize, and then there's a time to give accolades. Otherwise, whatever. Let him go rogue. Just do shit nobody wants him to do. And there's really nothing else you can do about it because he's going to conclude that you can't be pleased either way. Let the neocons do that. That's how they're acting right now. Don't help them. When your enemy is sitting there committing political suicide, you don't go take the political gun out of their hand. Let them blow their political heads off. The country's dying. It's time to be vicious. Anybody notice the coordinated attack against me last week? That's where we're at. All right. Speaking of which, let's go through a couple of those images and then let's go through some of those critics and what they've had to say. And I don't know if I could possibly go in order of least unhinged to most unhinged. It's all unhinged. But I will say this too. Let this be a lesson to Donald Trump. You should never have gotten in bed with the neocons. I hope you have learned your lesson and learned it permanently now because you have wasted a good deal. If not, that's it. Your presidency on this. And what do I mean by that? I mean, because you only have, we keep calling it peak presidency. Other people call it a honeymoon. Donald Trump had an extraordinarily long period of peak presidency in this second term, which is amazing considering he had nothing in the first term. No honeymoon, no nothing. They couldn't even get health care repealed. Then they screwed them on immigration. They got tax cuts because, of course, they were paying back their Wall Street and other corporate America donors. It's a joke. It wasn't for you. Although it personally did help us quite a bit. Small businesses helped us a lot. This time he got the BBB. It was a massive bill. There's a lot of great stuff in the BBB, but he needed at that moment to pivot to specific concerns over healthcare and housing. And I'm going to get a little bit more into detail about where they made mistakes here. It was about healthcare and housing. And you can even reverse it. Housing and healthcare. And oh, by the way, Charlie knew that. He kicked off the housing thing right before he was promptly removed from this world. And then they just gave up. The lobby rolled into town in the spring. They used a couple of their foreign agent U.S. senators like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, attempting to blackmail Donald Trump's passage of the BBB by tying it and connecting their support to some kind of military action, which is how we got Operation Midnight Hammer. And guess what? After they did, it was nothing but a constant war drum beat from last summer to when he finally pulled the trigger and started this stupid war. We never pivoted back to domestic policy. We never got that big launch on housing and affordability, which he, in between, called a hoax a bunch of times and gave Democrats a ton of material to use for the campaign. All right, let's get to it. So the deal comes out. We should get this officials first. Yeah. Okay. Lindsey Graham was right exactly 10 years ago. This is what I'm telling you with neocons, and this is the problem I have with Israel as an ally, period. They will throw you under the bus in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. You don't believe me? Okay, little trivia. Who's the first foreign leader to congratulate Joe Biden on stealing the election from Donald Trump in 2020? Anybody? Takers? Benjamin Netanyahu. All right, so here's another one. All in all, I'm not that surprised that Trump decided to go for a historic defeat, despite having everything in place to force an unconditional surrender. Like what? You notice people who make these claims don't actually then go on to elaborate on it, anywhere near elaborate on anything that would support those ridiculous claims. What do you mean everything in place? The Israelis wouldn't go in. Carg Island got thrown out. The invasion to take the uranium got thrown out. They wouldn't send a damn soldier. They wanted a pussyfoot in Lebanon. It's a shame none of this stuff comes out. I'm sure it will, but it wasn't in the last couple of months. They had no intention. They wanted Americans to go in there and die. You cannot force an unconditional surrender from the air. It is impossible. Will Chamberlain, another moron. Those of us who have actually studied this know you cannot beat a regime into submission from the air. The big, constantly, you have to hear this. Slobodan Milosevic capitulated, right? Because Bill Clinton was getting the NATO invasion force ready. The bombing did not cause, it was not the cause of Slobodan Milosevic capitulating. The army being assembled was. He took one look at it and he said, hell, that's the end of that. This is not true. Unconditional surrender, we have not seen in the post-World War II era. It's destruction, mayhem, mass death, genocide, extinction level events like we saw in entire cities gone, like Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Take a look at what Berlin looked like before the Red Army even went into it. And the truth is, they're okay with that. Lindsey Graham said as much on Meet the Press. Do you remember that clip? They're crazy. That's insane for a war. So you want us to commit mass murder for a war Americans don't even support? for a nation that doesn't have our best interests at heart at all because they want to be the regional superpower. And in order for that to happen, the United States has to be weakened and removed from the region. Holy shit, right. And here's exactly. And my guess is Steve Witkoff, Kushner, and their Qatari friends were vital in making this shambolic deal happen. That is not only borderline libelous, right? I mean, it's actually like the reverse of true. Kushner's in charge of what development project again? Where are those buildings going up? Let me ask, does that help Israel or help Iran? Right. Give me a break. I don't want to get into uncomfortable subject matter here, but members of the family don't have stakes in drone companies that belong to Iran. This is not only ridiculous, it's like basically the opposite of true. And because I do know some about the negotiation process, the fact that you would accuse them of that is unbelievable. It's so ridiculously false. It's just terrible. And then our favorite, in a period of 2 months, Israel has gone from a great ally and partner in war, fighting by our side against a horrible enemy that has killed thousands of our people, killed tens of thousands of their own people. That's more lies, by the way. And was a dire nuclear threat, a big, fat lie, intent on attacking us. Who is us? Because he ain't talking about the United States of America, folks. Who's us? There was no dire nuclear threat. That's bullshit. This is what I'm talking about. You can't argue with these people in good faith. You can't have a debate, a legitimate political discourse with these people because they lie. They bring to the discussion, they come to the discussion in bad faith. They're not intellectually honest at all. This is a man who went on his program on Sunday, Mark Levin, whatever, Life, Liberty, and Your Mother, and told his viewers, his elderly viewers, because go look at the ratings, you'll see, he'd be lucky to get the 20,000 under 50 to watch. Lucky. I think we'll have half of that on Getter by the end of the night. He told them that not only were they going to get the bomb, they had a way to deliver it to Chicago and New York. How do you have a legitimate discourse with someone like this? You can't. Just be honest. Don't pretend there's some dire nuclear threat that Tulsi Gabbard has said a million times is a lie. And just tell everybody what it really is about. You need to exterminate a large amount of Arab populations in the region in order to achieve the Greater Israel Project, including, and remember last year when I said, including Turkey, a NATO member, an ally. Donald Trump loves Erdogan. They have a great relationship. And they called me a liar at that time. Before Christmas, when I said, if you think this is bad, Turkey's next, they were like, oh, you're just making shit up. No, dummy. I already knew Netanyahu raised it because somebody was in the room, texted and said, what an effing maniac. He's a member of NATO. And they didn't start. They did not start. Maybe in your mind, in their minds, let's expand it. In their minds, in the neocon mind, which is a dying breed, I almost want to like have got, if I didn't appreciate life so much and find it to be so precious, the small time that we have alive on this earth, I would beg God to let me blink and have 10 years wiped off the map so that when I open my eyes again, these people are all gone. But I value the precious gift that is life more than just outside of when I'm supposed to be crying that liberals abort babies. Like, you know, the life is precious to me when liberals want to abort babies and when you want to drop bombs on little schoolgirls. And then just call yourself conservative. Pro-life. I'm pro-life. Don't you see why nobody believes you? You can't kill little kids, bro, because you say they're brown. They're like, but they're just Muslims. And I mean, many of them, Randy Fine, I'm not even going to say her disgusting name, but another one, people like him and others, they just openly now talk about genocide on X. Like it's nothing. You should want to kill all Muslims. Like they have openly said these things now. Americans will never sign on to that. They wouldn't even sign on to it after 9/11. Yes, there was a lot of Muslim hate that was, that came in the wake of 9/11, but what was George Bush's reaction to it? We cannot blame all Muslims for this sect of Islam. This is an extremist sect, and they don't represent every right. So even at our most vulnerable to pulling some kind of an act like the Israelis just pulled on the Palestinians, a genocide. Even at our most vulnerable, we weren't capable of doing that. We, in their minds, Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel started as a great ally. And I know he's referring to Donald Trump, what Donald Trump had previously said. But Trump was doing what Trump does. Flatter people back who flatter him. Tucker was telling the truth when he said, I told him to his face, God doesn't even like you. He's like, whoa, but Trump and Netanyahu have been friends for years. Okay. Bedfellows, friends, not really the same thing. The country has had a rapid change of heart on Israel. And as I have tried to explain a million times, burn it down. That is an age signal trend. You cannot stop it. The only people who have an even remotely favorable view anymore of that regime and Netanyahu are old Republicans. Even young Republicans don't like him, don't like Israel now because they feel like Israel hijacked their presidency. And can you blame them? Are they wrong? I mean, let's be honest for a second here, guys. Are they wrong? Year one of Donald Trump's presidency, year one, not even 3 months in, and the Gaza ceasefire was running out, was expiring in March, and they flooded a lobbyist army into town and completely derailed the domestic agenda. I've learned, especially in my years as a public pollster in the Trump era, the most successful and accurate public pollster in the Trump era, disclaimer, I have learned that Americans are usually right. And that if they tell you something, it's like so many pollsters and others have just forgotten that the job of the pollster is actually to listen. That's the first job. And so many of the things that they have said, the consensus that they have formed, that the ruling class and conventional wisdom and, embedded institutions and thinking in this country and in this political society, if it went against the grain of, their grain and the way they thought and what they thought they knew, it was wiser to take the voters, the side of the voter consensus, because they were right. God bless you. Because it was almost, I'm actually struggling to find an example of when they were not right. Immigration is killing wages and hollowing out the Rust Belt and the industrial Midwest, was a huge thing. I'm trying to think of all these things that they laughed at that led to like Charles Krauthammer and Mark Levin calling Donald Trump a clown. What are you talking about? It's ridiculous. Nobody cares about this. Remember when Donald Trump said, actually, I think we need to do a Muslim ban? You remember that? So he didn't say we're going to round them up and put them into camps. He said, if this country is predominantly Muslim and cannot vet their people, and had to be on the State Department sponsored terror, like there was a ton of terror organizations. If they can't get off of that list, we sure as hell should not allow them to travel to our country. And it was just common sense. Washington, including neocons, Washington flipped out. That's crazy. He's xenophobic. This is nuts. And it didn't come from a place of xenophobia. It came from a place of common sense. If it's a third world shithole run by extremists, how about we don't let migrants come here from those countries? Like, that's simple. I can't even think of another example. I can't think of one where they were wrong, where the voters were wrong. I just can't. And now here we are with the latest example. Israel's just, for, again, reasons so many people have looked at, this special relationship. I'm going to play you some clips, and it's going to let's play Ben Shapiro first, because it plays exactly what I'm talking about here. There's this like privileged, entitled guys. They're downright spoiled. And they feel like this relationship should never be challenged. And where is this all coming from now? How dare any of these people speak up? How, they're a great friend, and our interests are just perfectly aligned together. And we shouldn't have to, give you stipulations to get the money. They have been so accustomed to having the American taxpayer wipe their asses like they're their personal bidets. They become so accustomed to it, they never thought that this would be challenged in any way, shape, or form. And it actually surprised them when people like Mark Mitchell and I did this, I want to point out something. We had the balls to release polling like this that people knew about privately and were afraid to release because they are afraid of the lobby. We did it before Pew Research, before Gallup. The truth is, we gave those bigger organizations cover to start to tell you the truth, which is that, you know what? Israelis don't really have that advantage anymore at all over Palestinians when it comes to who do Americans sympathize. And why? Why is that? What drove that? It's Israel's own behavior. That is the number one catalyst for change in long-standing perceptions. And Barnes and I, by the way, have gone through this many, many decades of data. The truth is, until the Zionist, what's the word I want to say? Like marriage that Likud really manufactured after Begin won in 77, with this marriage with evangelicals and corrupt pastors too, like Pastor Hagee. Poor wife, Pastor Hagee, banging your secretary. Jimmy Swaggart, banging your secretary. Falwell. I mean, we can just go down the line. I mean, I am an evangelical. I mean, so I'm not very, I'm probably not the best example of one, but I consider myself a non-denominational evangelical. Nobody's perfect. Sure as hell, they're not perfect. You know how bad Jimmy Swaggart hurt the church by banging his secretary? And they flooded these guys with money. And until that happened, and Reagan certainly allowing the neocons in his coalition and marrying the Ziocon, and that's effectively what he was doing, starting the marriage of the Ziocon with the right, Even then, by the way, people like John McCain called it heresy. But until that happened, it wasn't the case that Americans were overly sympathetic with the Israelis over the Palestinians. That's just simply not true. For most years, even immediately after the Holocaust, which is amazing to me, neither routinely won. Neither. Who do you sympathize more with? The Israelis, the Palestinians, neither or both? Neither routinely won for many, many, many years. This is a modern creation. And yet, even though it is relatively modern, it's supposed to be this untouchable, unreformable, special relationship, and they're just downright stunned to see how the world turned. Do you see what he wrote? Okay, we went from them being the greatest ally just a few months ago. Well, you weren't paying attention then. Shocker. A stupid boomer neocon got caught off guard by the tide of history. What a shocker. That's just, I'm keeping that. I'm keeping it. Oh my God, the StumerCon. Oh my God, it's even better. StumerCon. Oh yeah, we're doing that. All right, so here is one of the children of the StumerCons. All right, now I know it's very difficult to listen to his voice for more than 30 seconds, but what I want you to hear, not only the content of what he's saying, but the privileged nature of what he's saying. Are you ready?
Is going to have to respond to terrorism across its border, as we'll see. If the United States is going to suddenly become an advocate for the idea that Israel can't defend itself, then this is a giant L for the United States and for our allies.
Okay, stop. I'm just going to say this real quick. This is the case anyway. It was when both parties were kissing the wall and bowing to the special relationship, Israel had to deal with that. Because Israel is a Jewish nation in a sea of Arab nations, and they don't get along with their neighbors because they are aggressive. They are an aggressive, aspiring hegemon. That doesn't make them special at all. It makes them human, like everybody else. This is what happens to encircled, inspiring hegemons in their spheres of influence. They get aggressive, they push out, and they piss off their neighbors. Their neighbors use traditional nation-state actors and non-traditional nation-state actors to attempt to counterbalance the aspirations, the aggression of the aspiring hegemon. Germany of World War I is a perfect example. He's not much different than Otto von Bismarck at all, only Otto von Bismarck was smart. Netanyahu really isn't. It's dawned on me. His actions have endangered greatly the survival of his nation in the long run. He can't, because all he gives a shit about is Bibi. And the people who've been telling you and me that, you and I that, for 10 years, while we supported him, when we were vocal supporters of him, they were right. They were like, don't lay on the tracks for this guy. He's a self-serving scumbag. But he's a nice self-serving scumbag. He's an affable dude. So it's easy to trick you. But the fact of the matter is, he doesn't give two shits about anything but staying out of jail right now, guys. And money, and money, and money. That's about it. All right, moving on. He's saying this is like as if Trump's deal is going to somehow lead to Israel having to deal with terrorism on their border. Israel's always had to deal with terrorism on their border. What are you talking about? Stupid.
Israel has the right to defend itself against threats, but the attack it was responding to was very small and meaningless. Nobody was hurt, injured, or killed, and should not disrupt this important process. I really don't think the president would see it that way if, right? Say, Mexico had fired a bunch of drones into American soil and blown them up and no one got killed.
Okay, actually, time out. Why the hell should he, Ben? This is our country. Israel's not. You keep getting that confused, bro. He's trying to stop another genocide, another humanitarian crisis, another migrant crisis, another starvation crisis, an energy crisis. It's small potatoes. You tell the little bitch sister in a relationship with a superpower. If you're the little bitch sister, then you should expect the big superpower brother to tell you to shut the f up and sit down. The greater, bigger picture is at stake. He should react differently to an attack by Mexico, which would never happen. An attack by Mexico on a nation, on a state, somebody within our nation, because he's the president of the United States, dude. No matter how many signs you give him in that nation, he's never going to be the president of Tel Aviv. You know what it is? You got it fucked up for a while, and you were living in your own delusion. You started to believe your own delusion. That's what happened here. Well, we got him. We got him on the hook. We duped him. We used a little bit of carrot and a stick, and we got what we wanted out of Trump. Now he's ours. Nope. Apparently not. And you just started to believe your own bullshit.
I don't think it works that way. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that way. That you're basically free. We shouldn't spoil this. We shouldn't spoil this very important day just because you fired a rocket at my house and you happen to hit my front lawn and not kill anybody. He said,
listen, for a long time, Israel would have to take incoming rockets from Gaza, from Hamas, lobbing them from Gaza and the West Bank into Jerusalem. You know, they'd hit tour buses and shit. Did we start a regional conflict over it? Did he live in the 90s? How old was he in the 90s?
He wasn't. He was probably like 5.
Did Bill Clinton, I know, maybe the fiddle was too loud. Did Bill Clinton start a regional conflict with Iran because Hamas lobbed rockets into, I mean, God, this is freaking ridiculous. We'd be at war with a great power in every sphere of the world if that was the standard by which we decide whether we're willing to negotiate with another nation or not. This is insane. You know, again, what it comes down to is the Israel First crowd thinks they're special. And the fact they even call it a special relationship, that is not normal. And it's not productive. This is great power conflict. You deal with reality, not with your delusions. And I don't know about you, but I can't stand to hear it anymore. But I have to, because there's something else he shows. You know what? Let's not, because it already is 7 o'clock. We really don't need to listen to that. I mean, you guys get the picture. And Laura's right. He sounds like he's on 2X, man. Nasal 2X. Is there a nasal filter for 2X that I don't know about? I think it's very different. Eventually, I can't even do it, man. This is crazy. This is just insane. Just think about the argument he's making. He would keep your kids. By the way, I don't know. He's close to my age. He was enlistment age after 9/11. Could have joined 9/11. You don't have to spend your time yelling in a microphone. And then these people sit there and attack people who did. Shit, man, you could have went over there, joined the IDF. Nobody's stopping you. You believe in the cause so much. Truth is, there's now, when you look at just like my family specifically, we're now going into 2 generations of fighting Israel's battles. People, like basically men in my family, have to fight wars that Israel has started. That's insane. This is a sovereign country. Or it's supposed to be. The truth is, the play here, and there'll be plenty of time to go over what did this war do to American superpower status, because you're going to hear them. I got to get into one guy who's going to really claim that Trump making a deal has eroded our superpower status in the Middle East, period. When anyone who was being honest was arguing from the beginning, that's exactly why we can't start the war. I've heard this analogy used before. It's an analogy you'll hear in international relations when we talk about the security agreement and the security pact in Southeast Asia and in the Middle East. The United States has always been like the juice head in high school, running around. Okay, yeah, man, you guys got arms the size of like your thighs. And he's big, he's scary. But nobody ever really tests the limits of his power because they're afraid to get hit by him. But once somebody does, and they bust that little bitch's nose, and he's bleeding all over the place, and not only can he protect his friends around him, but he can't even protect himself, then suddenly nobody's afraid of the juice head anymore. As a matter of fact, he falls to the ground, then everyone takes their turns kicking him in the kidneys, and he's pissing blood because he's been on juice too long. And it's just over. His time as the dominant force in the hallway is over. Effectively over. That has... Yeah, man. Your hall pass rescinded. This is exactly why everyone has always, anyone with a brain, especially realists, because they seem to have more brains than others in this world. This is why we've always argued, don't do it unless you absolutely have to. Because now, not only has Iran proven to all of our Gulf allies and Israel's neighbors that we can't defend them. So their reliance on us is built on a fraud. But you have our allies in Asia as well, forced to come to grips with, well, wait a minute. Forget about China. What if Kim Jong-un really does decide to start shelling Seoul? They can't stop us. They can't protect us. They can't stop him. Even Japan. Why do you think every time Kim Jong-un launches an ICBM to make a point to the world, where does he always launch the ICBM? Over who? Japan. This is why we should never have done this. Because now, I hate to say it, and again, there's plenty of time to focus on this in the future, but it's basically inevitable that we'll be a retreating superpower now. I wanted to do it. I just wanted to do it on our terms. We're $40 trillion in debt. We have our own sphere of influence. You know, the problem is, by the way, read Jack Snyder, Missive Empire. As we did in the book club, if you're a member of Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. The math stops making sense when empires expand out beyond their spheres of influence, beyond their own regions, and it could be your entire hemisphere if you're a strong enough superpower. Overextension or overexpansion happens. In other words, when the cost of maintaining your empire it no longer justifies whatever good you think you're going to get out of the spoils. That happens when you leave your area, which is reasonable enough for you to project power in. See, we have the Air Force carrying fleet. And the aircraft carriers are how we project power or get around what is called the stopping power of water. Britain was a naval empire. They were also an insular empire like we are, which is why expanding beyond their capacity was retarded the way it is for us to do. We can project power as a superpower beyond most other nation states, but our power is not unlimited. It is not infinite. And of course, there are many limits to it. Stick to our own sphere first, and then dare others to come in. Projecting it all over the world because we think it's our job to stabilize the entire world is a myth of empire. And we're not special. We're not exempt from the laws of history and the laws of the international system. We're not special, and we're somehow going to defy physics, folks. We made the same mistake. And it's just tragic in my mind. It is tragic that Donald Trump is the one who did this, but it is what it is. We have to deal with it. He understands, and now we have to course correct and move forward. What we can't have are these people. And here's the irony out of all of this, and I don't want to forget to say this by the time I get through these clips. I can tell you personally, I know for a fact that we would have gotten a better deal about a month and a half ago if it wasn't for the bitching and moaning of these people. Their pressure campaigns, every time the vice president was this close to getting a deal, better deals were on the table and they derailed them. So you want somebody to cry about it? Ben, Mark, John, look in the mirror. You want somebody to blame. If you would have shut up and let the vice president and Witkoff do what they were doing, God, it's almost 2 months ago now, you would have gotten a better deal. Sad ass. But you drug this thing out way too long. You drug it out beyond that point. That's no longer possible anymore. All because you were so dishonest, you couldn't tell everybody what your real ambition, what your real goal was. You never had to do with the nuclear weapons program. I can't keep repeating this enough. It was never about the nuclear weapons program. This was about eliminating the Iranian nation, which my wife said earlier today is even more arrogant than it even sounds. It's like the height of hubris because they're not a nation. They're a civilization. And you thought you were going to steamroll these people in a couple of months? These concept. I mean, Jesus. This is the civilization that paraded into Babylon when Nebuchadnezzar went crazy. They've been watching us lose one military conflict after another right in their own backyard. You don't think they were watching and taking notes? And the saddest part about it, too, is that these people, all of these people, chose to advance the lies from Israel and Bibi when our own government knew that they were well prepared to deal with this and that we would lose. What? I know. It's crazy. Alexander the Great couldn't even undo that civilization. The fuck? Who the fuck do you think you are? You know, let's call it how it is. Let's just say what it. Who do you think you are? You tricked yourself. Your wife's lying to you. It isn't that big. She's just saying it to make you feel better, dummy. Yeah, baby, you're the man. Fucking loser. Let's move on to this. I don't know which one to even start with because he's equally unhinged in both. So let's play one and then we'll address what he's saying.
I don't know if it could be worse, because if this war ends the way I fear it's going to, America is going to be in a strategically, tactically, and militarily worse position than it was under Biden and before Trump came back into power.
Okay, stop. I couldn't even find it. I think it's because he blocked me. I literally told this dummy on X that this would be the result if we went in this direction. It's not Trump who's doing it. It was the assessment of our own Pentagon that we would end up in this worse position that he's now saying will happen if Trump agrees to this deal. Well, it's already done. I got news for you. In fact, I believe the exact quote was, "Tough shit for Big Yahoo." It's done. And I expect Israel to do everything in their power to try to stop it. But this is what was always going to end result if you did it. This is why I say, like, you can't have discourse with people who are either this stupid or they're just liars. And in this case, it's really a bit of both. He's not smart and he's a liar, right? Like, there's no way he doesn't know that that was the assessment and that, as we'll soon find out, the only one. Now, you didn't see Gabbard go to bat. You didn't see Gabbard go to the mat with that for that lie. The only one who did was Hegseth. It was never true. They have gamed this thing out a million times, a million ways. We were losing, always. So how do we get out of it? If we are going to have them choking us off using the straight and engaging in an economic war of attrition where they just have to outlast the American consumer's anger. How did they see this ending another way? Just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's so dishonest. It's so dishonest.
That is to say, he made a choice to test America's resolve, America's ability to win war, to exert its will, to change the nature of the map, and he has choked.
That's all neocon speak. I just want to tell you guys that, right? The actual definition of neoconservatism is the belief that you can use the primacy of U.S. power to shape the world in our image, right? And he just went through like the neocon dictionary. Okay. And just wanted you guys to understand that. Like, that is neocon speak. It's nonsense. But he is right that Donald Trump is the one who made that choice. There's no way we can argue against that. He did. And this is why I begged him not to do it. But we are here now. And the idea that Trump making a deal is what it will be the catalyst for that result is wrong. The idea we ever did this to begin with was that the real cause behind what the end result will be, which he's not even that far off of. But what he's not recognizing is this is the consequence we're going to have to live with because we made an unwise decision. And that's just reality. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, you just can't.
Chickened out. He has bled himself dry. And better that we shouldn't have done it in the first place, because we have 25 years left. We have 75 years left of this century. We have 75 years left of this century. Trump, the crazy lunatic psychotic who doesn't care about lives and will do anything and do anything, could not bear the idea of putting a boot on the ground anywhere in Iran, and could not bear the idea of a single American possibly being taken hostage, which I understand. I'm not saying that either of those is a good thing, but if you're going to go to war, you have to put boots on the ground. If you're going to go to war, you have to understand that there are sacrifices.
I said, holy shit, there it is. Did you see John on Twitter when the strike started and everybody was saying this is a regime change? Did you see him anywhere saying, yeah, we're going to need boots on the ground? This is what I'm talking about with this bad faith bullshit. They kept moving the goalposts and lying the whole time. Donald Trump chickening out. No. He took a risk believing you fucking liars, and you were wrong. And now he's not willing to give up more American lives, to squander more American wealth that we don't have to squander on a war that doesn't have anything to do with us. And getting into it at all in the first place is what did this. And you see how he thinks he's smart and he thinks he knows how to go Trump? He chickened out. He's trying to take on his machismo. Look at this fucking guy for a second. Look at this guy. Is this the guy who's going to challenge Donald Trump's masculinity? Are you serious?
Would he go to war?
Go, bro. And this goes to show you how stupid and, like, again, you know what the real problem, and it's not just foreign policy, so much of why we can't solve our own big domestic issues. I'm trying to do this nicely, but again, it goes to burn it down, link in the description, go pre-order it. This generation has got to be the most entitled, spoiled generation in all of American history. And they are incapable of doing something that all other generations did, actually incapable of doing two things that all other generations who preceded them did. One, rise to the occasion, even if it means personal sacrifice, to solve the problems, the big problems that are facing the country. And two, is know when their time is up. The Iran war will go down as the last gasp of boomer cons and their stupid foreign policy ventures. Listen to what he says. We have 75 years left in this millennia, in this century. That's how this dumb boomer measures time, because that's where his generation came into the world and faced the new, what was supposed to be the new American century. Dummy, you don't have 75 years for these ventures. You might have 7 years if you're lucky. And before your favorite ally is a pariah. And in fact, because of this folly, this buffoonery that you pulled in front of the whole world, after the biggest coalition, Republican coalition, ever delivered the White House, the Senate, and the House to Republicans, and you turn around and waste it on this buffoonery, Israel is done. This is not a bold prediction. Anyone who's looking at the numbers knows. And not for nothing, but I tried telling you stupid SOBs this. If you really cared about the survival of Israel and the preservation of the special relationship, you would not have done this. All you did was exacerbate and accelerate an already challenging trend that is being driven by age signal. You would have had to go, instead of using $745 million for Hezbollah bullying, you would have had to go, is it million? I thought it was more. It could be more, actually. You would have had to go and re-engage and start to reestablish relationships with generations that are outside of the Ziocon fraud relationship. Even new, younger evangelicals don't believe what their parents and grandparents believed. And you had to go back. God, you could have even tried to use Charlie for that. I don't know what you're going to do now that Charlie's gone. Because nobody in that age bracket's going to listen to you at all. But you made it worse here. And by the way, me saying that, it's always met with such, vigorous, vehement opposition from these people when I say it. And the fact of the matter is they know it. They know it. They're all studying the same thing. They see it. Republicans in Congress were briefed in a session almost 2 days on polling that included firms that they like, not just me and Mark Mitchell. They knew damn well that this could backfire, which goes really to what Laura was saying before, because Bibi knows it too. He just didn't give a shit. Because Bibi's about Bibi. And that's it. All right, let me play the rest of it. And you know what? We don't even need to play the rest of it. There's another one where somebody else says something that I think is interesting. He interrupts her, but I think what she says first is worth putting side by side with what he's trying to argue. Here we go.
We stopped carpet bombing them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Now we're removing, the blockade to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Next time we'll be giving up something else to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This is the way negotiations with the Iranians work.
It's the way negotiations with us work.
Yeah,
it's about us. It's not about them. What they want is completely clear. They want freedom of action. They want to be able to close or open the Strait of Hormuz at will. They want to continue their nuclear program, and they want to continue to build ballistic missiles. And
her point is, John, did they? Were they in charge of the Strait of Hormuz before you started your fucking war, John? You put us in a worse position. And yeah, of course, Donald Trump history will blame him for that. But let's be honest. It's not like he was accurate information. It's not like he wasn't damn near a victim of like a complete propaganda campaign and isolated by your friends and your senators and friends. It's amazing because these people represent nobody. This is, as a pollster, what drives me the most crazy. They represent themselves and their bank accounts and their seats in both houses. And it's like, it's funny that they have that many of them. As Matt Gaetz is right. They basically have every chairmanship. What are you talking about? But they have no constituency. They don't have any voting base. Nobody fucking likes them. Nobody agrees with them. It's true. It's remarkable that they have and do wield that much power and influence, even though nobody reads John Podhoretz anymore. Nobody watches John Podhoretz anymore. I mean, I think this is the first clip he's been on that made its rounds. And the only reason why I saw it is because of, what's it called? InfoLibs News. By the way, I really got to give a shout out here to InfoLibs News, which is Chris Menahan on X. I got most of these clips from him. He was just drilling them out, and I'm like, oh, him too. Oh, him too. Oh, him too. Because those of us who have been around long enough know that these are the main opponents to Donald Trump. All of these people.
Well, just like that montage you saw earlier. In 95. 3 to 6 months. It'll be
for 35 years. And it's like somehow people can't I don't know how you have any humility at all for making that argument after you're caught in a montage video like that, because you've been bullshitting for 35 years. How could you not be humiliated? How could you be like, and like, or a Mark or a Ben or a John? And it's like, there's years and years and years of video of you people hating Donald Trump. And now you claim to be new MAGA? Listen, guys, when you defend Donald Trump against what he views to be the establishment and rhino hacks, he was what he used to call them back in the beginning quite a bit. Actually, he even, I think I even have one where he says rhino hack. And it's 2024. Yeah. I do. He flatters you. He wants to flatter you. So he sends you these little things like, hey, Rich, I saw you defend me against that idiot. Thanks, bro. Like not bro, but like he'll thank you, and he'll sign it. And it's like he's trying to flatter you because he likes that you're on his side. And it's like, again, everything's transactional with Trump, which is why the critics need to remember you got what you wanted out of him. If he views you as not being appreciative or like at least acknowledging that he made a big course correction here, then he's not going to be inclined to do it next time. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they better keep. They've really, really, really better keep that in mind. I'm just telling you. Because otherwise next time he won't care and he won't listen. All right. So, again, he doesn't give her a chance to speak for the last of it. And I am running out of time here because I can't go to 8, but so I have to get rid of this. I have 2 others that I have to do. And then I want to talk about what we're going to do, in the national poll before we go. All right. So, let's just do it. Oh, I was dreading getting to this one. And the reason why I have to play this one, and did I get this from Chris? I think I did. I think so. It would come up. It's going to come up and show it anyway. But yeah, I did. Yeah. This is I was dreading getting to this one because this is probably one of the worst, most egregious examples of just shameless hypocrisy. And I watched Bannon go after him earlier today for it. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually just going to play what Bannon says to it because it's textbook Bannon just laughing his ass off because there's not much you have to say. There's like compare, contrast. Look at how full of shit he always was. Look at how full of it. You can't have been honest if you made that claim before, if you're going to turn around now and say this. Like it's self-evident. I don't really have to add anything to it. Everyone can see it. That's why I said earlier, they think you're dumb. So like if you're still watching them or reading them or following them, like then you really are that dumb. I don't care. I'm like not afraid of like offending somebody in my audience. I'm just not, in case nobody's ever noticed. But you'll watch because you'll want to hear the truth and somebody be sometimes brutally honest with you because I respect you enough to be brutally honest with you. If you want to be lied to, this is not the show for you. And by the way, I was right about it all.
Remember they said that they were.
I know. I really want to thank Andrew right now. And if I have time, I'll play it. But Andrew, brother, because I love you, bro. Today, that was very appreciated. Like the fact is, I've been saying things that a lot of people don't want to hear, but I knew I was right. And Andrew Colvett admitted it today on the show, and not even admitted it. He just gave me credit for it. And it means a lot because he's under a lot of, like the guy's under a lot of crap constantly. And that couldn't have been, he's been yelled at by the White House over me before. So like it's probably not that easy for somebody like Andrew to do that. And I really appreciate it because it means a lot. All right, let's get to the hypocrisy clip of the night.
Is going to review it. Because that's not discussed either. Yes, Congress will have to look at this. And most importantly, they're going to look at whether this deal can be upheld, I suspect. Now, there should be...
You may notice that he's reading from the notes they gave him. Okay? If you watch these last couple of... specifically, these last like several weeks, he's like literally reading off of whatever he was told to say. Like, or whatever he put together. And then, of course, I suspect. What do you mean? You suspect because you were just talking to Ted Cruz, Tel Aviv Ted Cruz on the phone, bro. And he said, I'm going to have to send it. Look at this deal, Mark. Don't worry. We're going to protect Israel. We're not going to let Donald Trump screw up the special relationship. Is that what you mean by I suspect? We all know, bro. We all know. Here's the truth. He's doing that because nobody's taking the calls. Nobody's taking the calls. He tried. It's like at this point, the president's just like, enough. A lot of work was done here. This is the route we're going to go. Well, hand me an outline. I dare you to keep demanding that Donald Trump show you the outline of the deal. I freaking dare you. Please keep it up. Please keep making demands of Donald John Trump to let you in on his negotiation promises. I triple dog dare you. Keep it up. He's getting so pissed. You're going to get a lash out, bro. You're going to get a truth post. It's coming. Be careful what you wish for.
Treated as a treaty. As a treaty under the Constitution.
It's a treaty.
Constitutional conservatives. But Obama and Congress,
conservatives, he said,
Democrats and all Republicans but one, Tom Cotton, all of them decided not to apply the treaty requirements under the Constitution to the Obama-Iran nuclear deal. So that's where we are. Now, what does the Constitution actually say if it was followed? Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. The president shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties.
This guy.
Provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. The Senate, 2/3 of the senators present concur. Well, Obama realized he couldn't get that. So he conspired not only with his party, but the Republicans to get around it.
Guys.
Because that's a high bar. And it's set intentionally as a high bar by the framers of our Constitution.
Now the
to ensure that any arrangement and
wait a minute. Listen, the constitutional conservative has got to school us on the Constitution now. All right, because he's a principled textualist. All right, he's a principled and an admirer of the Constitution so much that when this war started and the members of Congress that he opposed it, brought up the concept that after a certain amount of time, especially since Trump did not alert Congress to the attacks in a certain amount of time before he launched them, which I argued he didn't have to do either. Okay. But that was just fine with Mark Levin. The War Powers Resolution, he argued against Congress needing to give their authority for Donald Trump to start the war. So let me tell you what Mr. Constitutional Conservative is telling you. He's telling you that in order to start the war or join Israel's war, the president can do it and he doesn't need Congress's permission. But when the president, who really serves as like the nation's chief diplomat, wants to end a war, he needs Congress's authority to end a war. This is totally ass backwards than what the framers had in mind and what the framers gave us. Now, over the years, and especially since the 60s and 70s, particularly Nixon, that fight happened and really kind of got settled under the Nixon administration, it wasn't decided and as the framers would have decided it. They argued that it's a new world and it's a different time and we have to evolve with a different time. He's going to lecture us on the framers after his buddy put together a fake AI interviewing George Washington, who somehow they managed AI George Washington would have supported the Iranian war. The guy who left office in his farewell address telling us not to get involved in foreign entanglements. That guy somehow in his AI evolution has completely done a 180 on the historical George Washington. And in the same cut from the same cloth, he makes an argument like this. The original intent was to get that only Congress has the authority to declare war. Now, he argued against that. That's not true anymore. And Trump doesn't need Congress to start the war, to prosecute the war. Now he's arguing that Trump can't end the war without Congress, that it has to be taken as a treaty. Even though not only does he not have history on his side, he actually doesn't even have recent history on his side, because he just admitted that effort, when Obama did it, failed. And Obama was able to do what he wanted. And this is just crazy. This is like, the hypocrisy is rank here, guys. It's rank. And the fact that he has the audacity to try to sell it as like, well, this is me. Trust me. I'm a constitutional conservative. First of all, neocons and conservatives share nothing in common except for a root word. That's it. Because if you're a conservative, you fundamentally believe that government, especially big government, federal government, the best government is the closest government because it's the most representative government. It's your neighbors. It's you. But federal government, big central government, is too incompetent and too corrupt to solve most of the nation's problems. And that's why central planning doesn't work. Yet somehow, neocons, who also claim to be conservative by ideology, argue that the federal government can be used to not just fix other problems, but to fix problems in countries that are hemispheres away. It's not compatible. You see the disconnect here, guys? They somehow can't provide you with health care, but they can provide the Iranian people with an entirely new government. It's ridiculous. Because the truth is, they're not conservative, and they have never been conservative. They were leftist until Democrats threw them out of their party in the post-Vietnam era because they were crazy, and Democrats wanted to be the anti-war party. And they were tossed from the left where they came from and were cast out into the wilderness for years until Ronald Reagan, who just built a massive coalition, let them in with many, many other factions when he put together a massive coalition that carried almost every single state. He gave them power too, which was a gross accident. Why? Because he needed allies in the fight against the real danger that he believed, which was communism. The Reagan doctrine was ABC, anything but communism. So he let in Ann Kirkpatrick and all these other neocons, but he wasn't a neocon himself, and he didn't let them do what they wanted to do. He didn't even listen to them. But they did. And then they took advantage of a declining old man in his second term who didn't want to run those guns. And that's this is textbook neoconservative stupidity. The Iran-Contra scandal was Ollie North and his neocon allies going around Ronald Reagan and running guns to the now present Iranian regime that they want to destroy now via the middleman, who you might be able to guess was Israel. Guys, it's like, yeah, they're mujahideen when we're arming them to fight the Russians, otherwise known as Al-Qaeda later. You know, I mean, this is just, how long are we going to keep this up? I mean, you got to learn after a while. And the worst part about the post 9/11 Trump era, the rise of MAGA, was that was the lessons of these stupid follies were central to MAGA's philosophy. We're not isolationists. We're just not retarded. And yet here we go again. He just argued in a clip before that clip, in a segment before that clip, he just argued that Ronald Reagan, but he was discussing during the Reagan administration, he played a small part in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he acts like he was like the fucking Secretary of Defense under Ronald Reagan. But I'm serious. He had a small role in the Justice Department. He acts like he was the Attorney General or something, guys. It's ridiculous. We took out the Soviet Union because we armed the Iranian people. I kid you not. Go look. I'm not playing an entire episode of Mark Levin on my show, but that is what he was claiming. And in truth, we didn't do anything. Neocons did it illegally behind Reagan's back and against Congress explicitly forbidding it. And they would have gotten Reagan removed over it. They'd have gotten Reagan impeached. He just was too damn popular. And Democrats didn't want to try to go through with it. So instead, Ollie North fell on his sword, even though it probably did go much higher. I mean, the general consensus that it did go much higher. But the idea that, like, oh no, Reagan, was totally in on, Reagan wasn't in on it much of anything at that point, guys. His mental capacity was not really, I hate to say it, but Bill O'Reilly, who took shit for writing Killing Reagan from the very same people who hated Ronald Reagan, these guys, they accused O'Reilly of revisionism when it came to that part of his book. Reagan had, after he survived the assassination attempt, Reagan went down. He declined significantly. That's a fact. And when he was, I don't want to use the W word, but when he wasn't fully himself, these coalition parasites did what they do, which is exploit and take advantage and destroy coalitions, because that's what they do. Herbert Walker Bush got one more win out of that. Obviously, he served one term after Reagan. But what did they do? That Reagan did not. Exactly. Read my lips, no new taxes. Instead, he raises taxes and starts a new war. We wind up losing the coalition, 20+%, fractures off to Ross Perot. We don't get it back for nearly a decade. Nearly a decade. Until his son comes out of nowhere, beats the, I don't want to say runner-up, because like Republican Party used to be the it's my turn party. You do your time, and when it's your term, you get the party's backing, you get Fox News's backing. It was John McCain's turn in 2000. And George W. Bush comes out of nowhere, being laughed at, by the way. Everyone laughed at him. And he beat McCain. And he beat him by completely rejecting textbook neocon dogma. And what happens to that administration? It goes from winning every single one of the fastest growing excerpts in the United States to being 20s in approval and losing in spectacular fashion to Barack Obama. They lost Indiana, North Carolina. They damn near lost Missouri. Coalition parasites. Learn the term. Adopt it. That's what they are. They can never build a coalition on their own. So they latch on to other better ideas. They co-opt them and they destroy them. They suck those coalitions dry. They bleed them of their capital. They take everything, free riding parasites. And then they take and take and take until it's destroyed. And then they move on. Then they move on to the next sucker.
To the next organism.
To the next. Thank you, Laura. To the next organism they can betray. I can't even say they're like a remora, because the relationship between the shark and the remora is a valuable relationship for the shark.
No, it's like a cancer. Where
It's more like a cancer. It's parasitic organ. Yep.
And then kills them from the
It's parasitic, more parasitic by nature, like cancer is. Only I would say cancer replicates.
That's what I'm saying. It replicates as if it's a part of you.
Yeah.
And kills you.
They can't replicate though, because they're dying too. They're dying.
Well, they're replicating themselves.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
A wolf in sheep's clothing.
You know what the real problem is here? Even though they're declining in numbers, they have a lot of money. That's true. You know what I mean? They have a ton of money. That's the problem. And that's why, and my buddy, I'm going to play right here. Steve, I agree with you, bro. Tech bros are dangerous. I agree with Cernovich. I don't dislike the tech bros and the VC guys because of who they are inherently. I dislike them because they're cowards. I saw Mike Cernovich tweet that the other day, and that is totally right. However, there really is a very limited number of groups in this country who have enough money they can fund a viable political party. And until I can convince Elon Musk to do something, Elon, it doesn't have to be this way, bro. You literally could single-handedly help me dismantle all of this, all right? And then in one cycle, we'll be back up and running. May even be faster than that. But until something like that happens, you have to decide. The left, it's not even really a choice. Their donors are going to them, and that's it. That's it. They're crazy statists, socialists. Some of them are fascists. Actually, I would argue a lot of them are fascist socialists, because fascism is a form of socialism. And then you have the Ziocon money. Other than that, it's the tech bros. That's it. So you got to make a decision, There can be a campaign that comes like Bernie and Trump and, they got a lot of low dollars. They get it from the working man and woman. I mean, it's not a party. A party can't do that, though. A candidate can do it. A party can't do it. And that candidate is not like, you're just not going to come out of nowhere and do it. Donald Trump did it because he's Donald F. Trump. Actually, it's Donald J. Trump, but in my version, it's Donald F. Trump. He had universal name ID, you know, and Bernie did all right, but he was like a really bad imitation of, you know, Trump's populist movement. And it's just, it's not going to happen all the time. And it's certainly not going to happen at a level where you can fund an entire party, because that's ultimately the problem here. The Republican Party is just, it's worse off than it was when Trump came down the escalator now, guys. When there's not even a freedom caucus, you know, very scant liberty representation. It's just this. MAGA is just totally co-opted by Israel First, and America First is gone. Gates, MTG, whether you like MTG or not, I don't really care. She was America First, period. Massey, who I would argue is probably now more America First than anybody else. Was he always in my mind? Not really. But now, certainly. And that's the end of that. So, I mean, it's in bad shape. The Republican Party needs to be damaged badly so it can be weakened and then either rebuilt or just completely rebranded, because they're going back. Guys, mark my words, if that doesn't happen, they'll be back to the party of bushes. They're already almost there. They're even moving the power centers of it already back to Florida, consolidating, and it isn't because of Mar-a-Lago. All right, let's play before it's not fresh in the mind anymore, this last one, and then we'll talk about the poll briefly, and then we'll get out of here. But I said it a little bit, said my piece, but I hope I got the right clip here, because this is Bannon and Chris, and they just nailed. Curtis. Sorry, I said Chris. This is Bannon and Curtis Mills, and it's just like so clear. It's so glaring. How could you even take it seriously anymore? It's over. They've exposed themselves. Learn your lesson. Never get in bed with these people again. Never get in bed with these people again, and move on. And let's try to salvage what can be salvaged and continue the fight.
Ben, who's been President Trump's biggest supporter and best friend, and he's the true voice of MAGA, as he tells us every day. Now, Tel Aviv, Levin, this shows you what a total phony you are. Nothing your own words show what a total phony. Yep. After saying President Trump is the greatest president unilaterally and keep the War Powers Act, what are you doing now when it diverges? And Wielicki was right. There has been a strategic divergence from the beginning, and he was the one that said guys like Levin cloud this up. Now you've got Levin in all his glory. Now he wants to go to the AIPAC sponsor, the AIPAC affiliated Congress, right? And this gets to the whole thing of the merger, the defense bases, all of it. You couldn't be a bigger phony.
Yep.
And I think the President of the United States understands that. Kurt Mills, your thoughts?
He does now. He's got it.
Yeah, two observations. Number one, I don't like to attack people's appearances almost ever, but I'm losing my mind about this. What is going on with his right flag lapel pin? It gets bigger by the week. It's now effectively a jeweled brooch. I need an investigation of what's going on here. But substantively, you are correct in observing two things with the Congress thing. Number one, he is talking to the President of the United States like he's an imbecile. So he doesn't reference Trump. He just says Obama, 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 Obama. This is not Obama's deal. This is Trump's deal. Secondarily, Congress, and not just Levin, thankfully not in the Congress, Congress is utterly cynical. People like Lindsey Graham. There's no congressional role, as there is in the Constitution, for when a war is declared or a war is all but declared. But all of a sudden, if the President of the United States wants to end military hostilities, then it needs to be subjected to congressional oversight. It's just, this is open, naked, cynical contradiction at its finest. They are treating their viewers like they are dumb. They are treating the president like he is stupid. And I think enough is enough. And the markets today and the reception of the public to this deal is going to be positive, no matter what people want to say about capitulation, surrender. This is a victory for Trump. It's good that we moved on. The United States made the right call here.
I mean, what else can you say? What else can you say? He made 2 points, by the way, that like I was really trying to reiterate and drive home. One is he just has completely exposed himself. Don't sit here and lecture us about what a constitutional conservative you are, bro. You're a total fraud. There is nothing in the Constitution explicitly limiting the president negotiating the end of a war. There is an explicit role for Congress in starting a war or declaring a war. And yet he argued that he didn't need Congress's authority to continue carrying out strikes against the Iranian regime, even though stated and intended purpose was regime change. Now just to turn around and argue that this has to be treated as a treaty. I suspect, and the brooch comment was just hilarious, Kurt. Because it's like, I didn't even notice it until he said it. And then I looked at the Levin clip again. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? This thing's going to like soon fly off his lapel. Like it's sprouting wings and shit. Oh my God. Just well done, man. Well done, gentlemen. Very well done. I mean, it's very well done. And then the other thing is, that's why I said I triple dog dare you to keep doing this, to keep talking to him like he's an idiot. I mean, you're already treating your audience like they're stupid. And sadly, I hate to say it, but there's a certain demographic who watches Fox News that is just going to like wave their flag and it doesn't matter. But anyone else that's why his audience isn't growing. That's why he's, that this is over for them very soon. They can't read a line chart. I know it's very difficult. I'm like, like this is complicated or something. They can't read a line chart. It's almost over. The party's over. And honestly, it would have been over later had you not pulled what you pulled. But because you did, you now even lost a lot of people between 50 and 64. So once that happens and you lose the ass end of Gen X and the front of the boomer demographic, then you just have nothing. It's inevitable at this point, because I see, as of right now, I see no effort or no plausible plan for neocons to replenish their ranks, for Israel First to replenish their ranks. Like Ben Shapiro is not convincing young men of anything. The young men, who are even remotely right-leaning, want to watch UFC and want to see champions, call Michelle Obama a guy. I mean, and they hate Israel. They can't effing stand Israel. So I just don't know where it's ever it's done. It's inevitable. I'm very confident in saying that. All right. So let's get into some real quick questions. But before I do, I just want to say we're going to poll this because Kurt's right. I already know he's right, even though I want to get the most up-to-date assessment of it. We'll poll the plan now that people have had time to digest it. But I'm telling you, every week, and you got a benchmark poll, which means a publicly released benchmark every month. And we've asked questions like, do you think Israel has too much influence on U.S. foreign policy? Do you think the war was worth fighting? And we asked that before the deal was even announced. Guys, it went down 65-35. That's not close at all. I strongly suspect that Kurt is right, and this deal is going to be very popular because people just don't care about the details. They care about the direction. All right? Everybody under 65 years old was basically waiting for Donald Trump to get mad at Mark Levin and Benjamin Netanyahu. In case you haven't noticed, they were over it. Done. To them, it's not worth the midterms. It's not worth the gasoline prices. It's not worth the increase in the cost of other goods, because now it costs more to get the energy and fuel to transport in the supply chain. It wasn't worth any of that to them. And again, a big part of this is Israel's own behavior. That is what served as the number one reason for shifting public sentiment in this country. And I know that because I was the only one who had the balls to flatly ask, you think what they did in Gaza is a genocide? That was it. And the cross-tabulated demographics, the nested variables, between those who said yes, no, and then said what they answered how they did on the sympathy question, it was very clear. Certain demographics who were inclined to say, I'm more sympathetic toward Israel, who now were telling us more so, plurality or majority, that they believe what Israel has done in Gaza is a genocide, is the relationship is strong, guys. You would have otherwise thought those demographics would have been sympathetic to Israel, and they either said Palestine or neither. I think next time we ask that question, neither is going to win. I do. I really do. Mark just released his, and Israel had no advantage at all anymore. And the difference between how Mark and I do it is I just completely mimic the Gallup question because others have as well. Gallup has been asking it the longest amount of time. So I tend to defer to those who have far more, their data set's more robust and their trend is longer. And so I want to be as comparable as possible. So we also add neither and both, where Mark, I think he does Israel, Palestine, unsure. And I wanted to be more in line with what Gallup, then later Pew. I think Pew has the second longest one. Yeah, I screenshotted that, Laura. I'm going to put that up. Thank you for sending that. I screenshotted that because there's another one in YouTube like that. And those comments mean a lot to me. They really do. Especially since it's been a rough year for the People's Pundit, in case people haven't noticed, Holy shit. I've been attacked by everybody. I'm under attack by the left, the fake right, the brainwashed right, Holy shit. The brainwashed left. I mean, I've just been everyone's best friend for the last year. No, my God. Yeah, I call them fake new MAGA,
The
That's
what I call them.
I will tell you this, though. I will forever be indebted to Donald Trump for winning this election. And now we're suddenly allowed to say things we were never allowed to say for the last 10 years. I miss words. I don't care if they offend you. If you want to call me a wop, you can call me a wop. I'm not going to cry about it. This is just the world. This is the world I grew up in. It was deeply, deeply painful to me to watch the word police run all over the place, canceling people because they used a word that everyone knows they say when the doors are closed. It was so fake. All right, let's get into this. The power structure in America is not for the benefit of the USA and our citizens, but rather for I got to be careful if I read that out loud, and the diaspora. I would encourage you to join book club and let's read the lobby together. Listen, I think that this view is growing in prominence, and I think that people who would say that's a trope, or that's just outwardly anti-Semitic. Well, it seems to me that you did everything that a fair-minded person would tell you not to do if you didn't want to lead people to believe that was true. You know what I'm saying? And it's another thing, because we were talking about this yesterday during book club, where if you said, when I went on Tucker, I got this one email from this guy, and he was like, why would you go on Tucker to help him argue the Jews took out Massey? Meanwhile, as I'm getting this email, there's literally every Israel firster and prominent Jewish pundit congratulating each other for taking out Israel. For taking out Massey on behalf of Israel. You know what I mean? So it's if you don't want people to say that, then maybe you shouldn't outwardly boast and brag about it. And by the way, it's just ridiculous anyway. I'm Italian, right? When Colombo started the Italian American League And he started targeting New York politicians because he thought that they were too supportive of the FBI, who he, of course, falsely accused of like persecuting Italians. He was coming after the mob. They were coming after the mob, although they were pieces of shit about it. They were dirtbags. And I'm, you know what? I'm even going to take my own peep side over that. I am. But nobody ever accused him of like, oh my God, Colombo and the Italians took out the mob. How dare you say that? That's so anti-Italian. Colombo was like, yep, we did it. Better watch out. We're a vote, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, how you like me now? We didn't cry. Like, that's anti-Italian. You're going to be anti-Italian for saying that. I mean, over everyone. I just, everybody. Poles, Jews, Italians, blacks, everybody. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I watched something the other day. We were talking about that guy, and now I can't remember his name, and I used to love him. He used to make this, he did the scream. That was like his signature thing. Oh! It's a documentary. It's Why We Laughed. And it's, oh man, come on. Somebody's going to know that guy's name. Why do I keep blanking on his name? I loved him. So did I. Rich, it's so refreshing to hear you speak. Thank you for keeping it real. Thank you, Bill with Money, because I'm telling you, thank you. Those comments mean a lot. Sam Kinnison. Thank you, Build with Money. By the way, I like that tag name. There's nothing wrong with building with money. The hell? You see all these Democrats, including now, you want to go after Platinum for something legitimate? How about the comment where he said, Elon Musk's the first trillionaire. We got to make sure he's the last. Why? Why, Graham? Why? Don't you want a ton of trillionaires in the United States of America? Like, wouldn't it be better if there were more successful, rich people? What's wrong with you?
He said it's going to go from neither. It's going to be a pity on both sides. Can't lose real quick here.
Yeah. And this one I screenshotted because I wanted to pull it up from locals. I am peeking cute. That is cute, man. I like that name. Can't express my gratitude to you. I joke that I live vicariously through you, but integrity is of tantamount importance to me. You shoot straight. Only one I trust anymore. Thanks for giving me my sanity. So much spin, lies, gaslighting. I want to bury myself in a backyard and send someone to dig me up when it's over. Thanks.
Can I get a plot?
I mean, can we get a plot next to you, for crying out loud? We'll send somebody to dig us all up. I hear you. Thank you for that comment too. That again, that kind of stuff means a lot. Really does. Ooh, ding, new member. Ding, new member. Are you gifting people, Casey? That's awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Since Trump won the Iran war, will you apologize? Greg, can I take a screenshot of this for Barnes? He'll like it. He's traveling too. He'll love this shit. You'll love it. I'm sorry I even screwed up the screenshot because I'm laughing. That one's good, man. That one's good. Yep. You know what? If it keeps him out of the damn war, I will apologize. Oh, yeah. If it keeps him honoring the deal, I'll whatever. Fake apology. Whatever.
When it's good behavior, you have to reward him.
Yes, you have to. This is how Donald Trump works. It's exactly. She said, if it's good behavior, you have to reward him. That is the point I was trying to make. Honestly, I should have just said it like that. That was the point I was trying to make in the beginning of like the critics of the war and the critics of Trump and how he's just behaved in the second administration. This is a big course correction. You have to reward him. He's transactional. I don't know how else to put it, because if you don't, he'll be like,
well, you didn't care anyway.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to do nothing for you.
I hope you guys heard that. But exactly. So you didn't care anyway. You didn't give me the credit for it. So next time I'm doing nothing for you. It's exactly how Trump thinks. All right. It's all this 4D chess bullshit. It's not true. That's not how Donald Trump thinks. It's not. It's just not even close.
Yeah, I said it's 100D.
Yeah. 100D, 64D. And I'm telling you, the sad thing is there's going to be some really people I think are smart people, and I otherwise respect their intellect and them, even their integrity. Victor Davis Hanson, he's one of them. Like, when obviously they have these tapes, and when Swan and Haberman release them, sell books, which they're going to do, they're already number one. So people like that are going to come out looking really, really stupid because they argued there was some like grand scheme to hurt China and this and that. And it's just false. It's just not true. And you're going to see that he's not even thinking or considering any, like it's not even in the same universe of how the deliberations went. And it's just going to make them look so bad unless they're going to, I suppose they could argue, guys, that he did it in secret when the situation room is for the secret talks, but whatever, you just never know how people are going to try to grift, all to just avoid saying I was wrong. I'm sorry, which is not, I've done it. You shouldn't be afraid to do it. Unfortunately, the last time I did have to do it was over Israel because I told everybody there's no way Israel would basically hijack the presidency for themselves. There's just no way. They would not, they're not going to screw over the evangelical working men and women in this country who supported them for decades. They're not going to do that. They're not going to take our best opportunity to save our country away from us in year one with some manufactured threat and BS. They're just not going to do it. Oh, I was wrong. And as it turned out, it's Bibi. It's Bibi. Because Bibi wasn't going to make it to the second and third year of Trump. Like, so let's say he didn't do it in the first year and we didn't strike the Fordo site and, none of that happened, which was really just a pretext and like an opening act for the actual war. And he waited till like year 3, which I have said numerous times publicly and privately, that if they just would have waited for year 3, then Trump could have probably done all of this. And as long as he did the domestic first in the first 2 years, I think Americans would have, I don't think anyone would have cared, or at least largely. But because he didn't put the needs of the American people first and the Israelis hijacked it and didn't give a shit, Bibi hijacked it and didn't give a shit. And Bibi's going to hurt the Israeli people because of this. He actually put himself first, and he's going to, it's a little bit unfair because so many Israelis never vote for Bibi. He wins not with huge majorities. He wins because he's in a Knesset system. He's in a parliamentary system, right? He wins with split votes, and then he puts together coalitions. It's a parliamentary system. It's not a republic. So it's, he's going to lose. He's going to lose this time, baby. He's going to lose. He's going down. Bibi's done.
Yeah, long-term choices.
He's going to run. He's going to run. Of course, he's going to run. He's not, I don't know where he's going to go. Maybe he's going to ask Donald to give him some sanctuary or some shit. But I got to tell you, because we decided to F it up, someone's going to have to give us sanctuary because Democrats are going to lock us all up. So, this is such a shitty situation. Man, I have a plan B, guys. I've always had a plan B. All right. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I'm going to work my ass to get it. And the plan B isn't totally intended on not losing the White House so we can make sure that we get the census done in 2030. We lock out Democrats, 20 plus seats in the House of Representatives, shift the Electoral College in our direction for 30 years. And then they won't be locking up anybody because they'll be damn near, they'll be a half-century minority. I got a plan. Bear with me. I can't blab it out yet because they'll react. But several of us are on this. All right. Wouldn't put it past neocons for a 7-4 false flag. Me either. Okay. So just so people understand what 80s New Wave Geek is saying, this is not in Israel's interest to keep this peace. Netanyahu needs a war to scare the Israeli people. Otherwise, he's going to lose this election and he's going to jail. All right. I would not put it past neocons, Israel, to do a false flag on September 4th. On July 4th, which is, of course, our 250th anniversary. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I don't care if anyone's offended by that. I not only wouldn't put it past them, at this point, I am expecting some big theater acts. The guy's going to jail if he loses. He has demonstrated that he's willing to literally exterminate an entire ethnic population in order to get political capital. I don't put. I think 80s new wave geek is actually much more likely to happen than not. And I pray I'm wrong, but I agree with that. Ooh, I forgot to go to. I've been sometimes forgetting to go, and it's gonna blast in your ear right now too, guys. Hold on 1 second. Why does that say how to review a poll? Did I not change the title correctly? I didn't. Oh my god, what a fool. Yeah, he called him Yahoo. Yep. He called. You heard that, huh? That's the one on Rumble anyway. I was missing. Yeah, he actually used the term Yahoo. Yahoo. And I actually didn't get that at first, but my son told me with it, man. Or really, he showed me that people use it. And I didn't know that because I'm not cool enough to be on Instagram, I guess. Andrew says, Rich, thank you for being these ballsy MFers, giving us a voice. My organization wouldn't exist without you giving us a voice. Maybe one day we can join together to roll in and take on DC like the Untouchables with Appalachia. It's Robert as the AG and us being Murder Inc., keeping it localized, an official Polak whop and a Mick with a Rican. All taking on the idiots inside DC. Got Elroy written all over. Man, that's so funny. You never know, dude. You never know.
Like the U.S. nation.
You never know. That's a real rainbow coalition right there, brother. Another question. Can we turn on the merging of our two militaries? For God's sake, what the hell are we doing? This isn't a bad idea. This is a horrible, disastrous idea. They will use FISA to spy on us. Yes, I think honestly it's already on it, and I think absolutely this should be like without a doubt like the next thing on the list. I just think that the survival of this thing is I don't want to say that and then something horrible happening, the deal is dead. But I'm telling you, the deal is it's solid, it's real, and I think that let's just stabilize this situation for a little bit. Robert, by the way, laughed. I just saw it because he's traveling. Gray, he laughed at your comment. But I think that some people should already start directing their fire at that stupidity because Andrew's right. And this is, you know what they're doing, Andrew? They saw this coming. You know what they're doing with that stupid little merging of military bill. They knew this was coming. And they know Israel is unpopular and soon they'll be a pariah. So they're trying to institutionalize the special relationship. Bro, look, I'm not a lawyer. This smells like treason to me. Like, I don't know what the hell else you call this. You're trying to embed a foreign government in our government. That's what you're doing. This is out of the question. And you're doing it knowing full well that they're done. Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, I try to think like 10, 20 years ago. I never thought somebody would ever get me to say, because, like, you know who wouldn't tolerate this? Barack Obama. And he still gave deference to Israel, but there's no way he would have entertained something like this. Don't make me sit there and say something crazy like, I want Obama. Like, if you're making me do that, you have effed up seriously. You are way out of control if you're making the People's Pundit say that Obama was better on anything, God. That guy, I literally depressed from Barack Obama being the president. Every day, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I can't blab the plan yet. I can't do it. Just bear with me.
No, he said don't.
Oh, don't. Okay.
And then he said, watch.
Oh, yeah.
He watch you and yell at you when you try to say something more than you should.
And Dread Robert's totally right. They haven't fixed the census yet, and time is running out. It's such an easy fix, too. But in order to make sure, like, let's say we do get that done, in order to make sure that it's not reversed, because, it's like with us, the court will say, well, you didn't do it right. You have to go through a comment process, and it would take 2 years. If Democrats get in 2028, and they obviously would assume office in 29, I guarantee you they'll have it dismantled within 2 months. I guarantee, guaranteed. There's no way on planet Earth they're going to allow that provision to stay in there. So that is why it's not just enough that we do it right now. and according to the guideline the Supreme Court gave us. But it's important that we win because we have to protect it, you know, and it has to be the White. Of course, the chambers of Congress matter too, but the White House has to be 1 in 28. Otherwise, we're going to lose our opportunity. And I'll be honest with you guys. I think we lose the fight in the long run, period, if we lose in the opportunity. I really believe that. And I know that every election, people are always like, oh, well, this is the most important election. No, it really is. It really is, because we could end them right now. And we will never be able to do, we can't do it if we don't hold the White House. Hey, Rich, next time you're in DC or talking with boop, boop, tell them to take out the APAC Amy so she'll drop out so I can help deliver Minnesota for them in 2032, maybe 2028. LOL. I'm waiting to redo your state too, man. Otherwise, I'll probably just drop the old result on locals for you guys to see. And I was hoping to do it again so it could be fresher. But if this falls through, what is it, Monday? He's got a few more days, Laura, and then I'm pulling the plug. You know what I mean? Like, he knows the deal. He knows. He's not new to this. And I heard about an unpaid invoice from someone else. And I don't like that. Now I hear you have bills all over town. I don't need that shit. Yeah. Laura, did you tell them to put this comment in here?
What comment?
As married men and women, we should all take a look in the mirror and understand the lengths to which someone will go to avoid saying, I was wrong, I'm sorry. So let's just take a second. Did you pay them to put that in there?
I think that's just your guilt.
Get out of here. Get out of here. I am not opposed to saying I'm sorry. I'm not exactly a beta. I think I'm pretty good. Are you laughing down there?
I didn't say anything.
I think. And what are you laughing at, little man? I think I'm pretty good for a textbook alpha guy who's raised when I was raised. You know, I think so. Everyone's laughing at me. I don't know what the hell is going on here. I feel like I'm living in an alternate reality, or I feel like they're living in an alternate reality. You know what? I love you guys too. Let me know the next time you lose your hula popper in the timber. Okay, Dad, can I get a new Rebel popper? I lost it. I'll remember that, big guy.
Sounds like bribery, sir.
It does kind of. It's going to go from neither to it's a pity both sides can't lose real quick here. Yeah, I agree. That's on the Israel-Palestine sympathy question, Palestinian. And it's Israel-Palestinian, Mark, not Israel-Hamas. Because, of course, Hamas doesn't run Palestine. Hamas isn't the elected governing body. Hamas wasn't even around when we started to first ask the sympathy question, because the U.S. or because the Middle East situation question period and the question predates Hamas. I've never seen anything so honestly despicable in my life. That's why now, and it sucks because I really do like that pollster. I like his history and his work, and now I just can't believe anything he puts out. I just can't, because if you're willing, listen, guys, he knows what he's doing. That's the real bad part here. He is fully aware that what he is doing is manipulating the question. So now I can't believe his generic ballot either. I can't believe his approval polls. I just can't. If you're willing to fudge a question like that, you're willing to fudge your data. I have a lot of experience, and there really are two types of pollsters. Ones who are willing to bend, and if you're willing to bend, you'll do something like that, and then you'll do something like just straight up change the answers in the data set. I've seen it. I've seen people do, like, I know once you're willing to cross one line, everything's up for everything's blurred. Every line is blurred. And then you have others like me and Mark, and that's just about it, I guess. And you're just not willing to do that ever at all. So there is no like stepping up to the line. That's bullshit. Once you step up to it, you're going to cross it. And then once you crossed it, it's all blurred. It's 12D chess, Rich. Trump had to lose the war to facilitate our withdrawal from the Middle East. Exactly. It's like, wait. No. For real, it is 12D because see, he wanted to leave NATO, but they didn't let him leave NATO, so he had to get in a war with Iran to lose the war with Iran. So they get mad and then want to lose NATO and attack Erdogan. It's 12D chess. Oh my God. What a great example. Great job. Minute I knew the deal would work, I knew they'd start that taco shit. Dude, I got to start reading your comments. Like in my head before I read them out loud. Damn MFers don't give a beep about anything but themselves and are happy with nothing. Sick of them all. But look, you're right. And it's just like they were never going to be satisfied. And like he sacrificed his coalition for them. And it's still not enough. It's never going to be enough because they're lying about what enough is. Enough is the Greater Israel Project. And let me tell you a little secret. Even if they got it, it would still not be enough. They are a textbook, aggressive, aspiring superpower or great power. Textbook. Hegemonic wannabe. And when they grow and they grow and they grow to where they claim or they, might even behind closed doors admit is they're really trying to get to, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. It will never be enough. Not to mention Ukraine, Yemen, Afghanistan, but hey, we can beat Grenada. Remember, we left an anti-American running Venezuela. I know. It's like, how long are we going to keep this up? And that was, of course, in response to how stupidly we funded all these other terror groups. Like, they're freedom fighters when they're fighting the Russians. But then 10 years later, those freedom fighters turn out to be the Taliban and the Mujahideen, and which just means freedom fighter anyway. And then the next thing you know, they're giving their safe harbor to Al Qaeda. Then they are Al Qaeda. It's just so stupid. So stupid. Blondie, I can't answer that question. Come on, Blondie. I have a pro-Israel friend who personally told me he's fine if we lose 28 and 26, and as long as Israel gets to go to war with Iran. Of course, me too. Chungster, I have talked to is well-known Israel first donors. I think that's a fair characteristic of these people. I have talked to multiple well-known, and they've all said that. They don't care about the Republican Party at all. At all. You're a vehicle that's being used like $5 whore for sucky. Okay? Like, what the fuck? How many more times do I got to figure out creative ways to insult you people until you get it through your heads? You $5 sucky whore. That's what you are. Okay? You're fucking nothing to them. You mean nothing. They don't even care because they all have like lavish places in Tel Aviv. They're going to disappear too anyway. Once they don't need the Iron Dome over their heads anymore. That's absolutely true. Chungster, list of recommendations for 48. Is that the one that you did before? Yeah, man. You guys should check this out. Especially since I got a job in Chungster's administration. Snap getter, don't be offended. I put it in there for you too. And I'll put it in I'll put it onto YouTube as well. And then I think this is the last one. Trump bans for prison 28 and MAGA corruption. Dude, great. I'm taking another picture. Give Barnes laughed his ass off at the last one. I mean, you give people something to laugh at while they're traveling. Oh, that's good stuff. And for those who don't know, Gray is like the king chat troller. He really is. Or Barnes has a name actually, and it's better than that. But yeah, I guess I got that. Andrew, I'd put up your meme, but I don't know if we could do that. Yeah, let's play hide the egg roll. Exactly. Oh, that's a good one too. Rich, will you be doing a special on Atlanta region like you did with Locale in Virginia? You know what? That's actually a really good idea. Guess what? I did it already. It was before the 24 election. Blondie, you didn't see it. I could do it again, though. I could do it again because, yeah, I could do like an updated one because people are deluding themselves into thinking that Collins has a snowball's chance in hell against John Ossoff. John Ossoff is going to steamroll Mike Collins, and then the next 2 years is going to be us having to figure out how to stop him from becoming the next president. While MAGA sits there like, winning. They remind me of Charlie Sheen's meltdown. You remember when Charlie Sheen was just like, winning? And he was like all drugged out, man. And he was like, then we found out he was like dying of AIDS. So what do you expect, right? Isn't it AIDS or something? That's what he had, right?
No.
HIV. Are you sure? I think it was AIDS. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But he was like sick and he's on drugs and just on a total spiral, a mental spiral. And he's just winning. That is MAGA right now. It's where they're at. You're not winning. You're losing badly. Now, can we please come back to reality so we can rectify the situation?
Oh, he was HIV.
Yeah, it's AIDS. I'm saying it's HIV. Should leave NATO, strengthen alliance with Turkey, good strategic location. Totally agree, Robert. So we should still get out of NATO, but we should strengthen our alliance with Turkey. They are much, oh my God. How could anyone argue that Israel is a better strategic ally than Turkey? Excuse me. How did we get the planes into Iraq? Where do we fly our missions from? That was Erdogan, not Benjamin Netanyahu, who didn't send a single soldier to Iraq to help us. Oh, let's play high. I already said it. I was joking. Well, I mean, I wasn't joking. I was laughing. Hey, I read it out loud and it was already too late. Whoops. I mean, it is what it is. Rich, it was the aliens. What kind of aliens?
It's always an alien.
A bizarre coincidence. A Russian Tu-22M3 strategic bomber and a US B-52 Stratofortress strategic bomber have both crashed. Oh, Russians lost one too today? Yeah, for those who don't know, I knew about the B-52. I did not know about the Russian Tu-22M3. That's weird. That is a bizarre coincidence. So both our biggest strategic bombers just fell out of the sky today?
It's the aliens.
It's the aliens. That's it. E.T. phoned home, boy. No, I don't know. It's crazy. Edwards Air Force Base in California, B-52 takes off, and then it's just like billowing smoke in the sky. You could see it, and I read the report as the Wall Street Journal put it over the wire. There wasn't that much detail on it, so I don't know that anything beyond that, but it was weird, strange coincidence. All right, it's 8:23. We'll get out of here. Like I said, it's time to pull this deal. We'll also do some updates. I think let's do the sympathy question and figure it out. Speaking of aliens, we are actually going to have it'll be the largest scope study of its kind in the public space, where we're going to basically study we're going to try to study the impacts of disclosure in a very detailed way. All right. So dealing with things you've just never seen publicly asked before. And I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be cool. And I think it's going to get a lot of attention too. I really do. Yeah. I mean, I got to just go over it. We had this conversation on book club last night too, so you'll understand book club. You'll understand why I was like skeptical. Well, not skeptical. I'm skeptical of the way some of the questions are worded right now. And I may want to change them because this has to be done correct. And I don't want to just do what I think is the easy way out that a lot of other people would do. I don't want to do that. And you'll understand what I mean when you see the questionnaire. But other than that, public polling project, share it. You know the deal. Support it if you can. What else am I missing?
And if you haven't bought, burn it down.
And if you haven't bought Burn It Down, go pre-order Burn It Down. Most important book. I'm telling you. I might be a little biased because, of course, I wrote it. But it is definitely time sensitive. And I wish we could have gotten this out even sooner before the midterms. But I think I'm making the argument as strong as I can make it, but without the book actually being out yet, although it is available for pre-order. Is Cynic, you out here listening right now? We're getting very close to having the audio. So stay tuned for that. Now, a lot of people we got a lot of requests for audiobooks, and I'm going to narrate it myself. But there's like a couple fine-tuned things that we have a certain deadline that I could like add things if I want to, or make sure it's laid out how I want it laid out. And I'm taking every bit of time that I can to do that. But I can't start the audio until I am 100,000, 1,000, whatever, 100% confident that this is done. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about small little minor changes. The book is done. The whole thing is done. Chapter, you can actually see, you got Joshua, my co-author, out there like taking pictures of the front, like the table of contents and how the book starts, and just out there teasing it. And I'm like, bro, we can do that? Like the publisher's not going to get upset? And he's like, what are they going to say? Don't sell books? And I'm like, all right, let's go. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm going to do it. You quote tweet it. I'm like, all right, let's go. It's smart. He's picking good spots, and he's picking like parts where it's very, very relevant to like what you can expect out of the book when you get it and you read it. I almost got again in number 1 yesterday. Almost. It's just going to be very hard because there are some really good books and that were just released. And anytime there are good books that are just released, September 21st, if you pre-order it now, it's technically the release date is the 22nd, but if you pre-order it, you'll get it a day early on the 21st. All right. Pre-order, the way I'm seeing this is that like we're banking early votes, you know, that's how I see it. And I actually did get some numbers from the publisher on like the first week when it was out and it went to number 1. And I was like, what? And then I'm wondering what the new numbers are. I wonder how many copies this thing is sold. I could always do better. He's like, this is a great start, man. Great. So, you know, I'm like, yeah, I could do better. You know, like I feel like I can. And I haven't even started yet. I'm going to see if I can't get some advanced copies for the conference. I don't know. I can't promise you that certainly, but I'm going to try so we can get at least 5 that we can, we can auction or something because it's for a good cause. I'm going to give it a shot. And of course I'll write because I know there's probably a lot of people who are going to the conference in the audience because the tickets, I think they're gone or they're very close to gone if they're not gone already. So if you haven't gotten your ticket to the 1776 law conference, center conference, then I would strongly suggest going to get it because I looked and it was like last week and it was low. And we cannot get any more. We can't. So it is what it is. All right. Yeah, all right. I think that's about it, right? 8:30, way over the time. Took the rest of your night. All right. Nothing but love for you all. As always, don't forget, coming in hot on the gram, @peoples_pundit on X and the gram. Go follow me on Instagram if you don't already. And of course, like Laura said, the link to the pre-order link to Burn It Down is in the description below. And you can also follow me on Truth and Getter @peoplespundit, no underscore. The best place is always on locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Nothing but love for you guys. Have a great rest of your night. Deuces.